People always ask me, what were your first symptoms of your stroke? And my first symptom being, I was at my boyfriend's house and he was playing video games. And I'm prone to migraines. So I thought that I was just getting a very, very bad headache. So I got a really bad headache over this eye. And I decided to stand up and grab a glass of water. So I stood up, I tried to grab that glass of water, and for whatever reason my hand wouldn't grab the glass of water. And I grab a glass of water a million times a day, a million times in my life. You know, why now? I got such confusion, and the muscles in my hand would not grab this glass of water, and I couldn't wrap my mind around it either. After I realized I wasn't going to be able to grab this glass of water, my hand immediately went to my chest. Now, my mom's a nurse, so I thought I was having a heart attack immediately, but I decided to pull my hand down from my heart, and it was actually harder to pull my hand down from my heart than it was for my hand to want to go back to my chest. So at that point, I pulled my hand back down, and I was like, dang, I'm really freaking out. And I just, let my hand go back, and I went back to my chest, and I'm like, dude, something is really wrong, really wrong. And then all of a sudden, the headache went from this eye over both eyes. And it was the worst headache I've ever felt in my life. Luckily, I was right by the bed, so I curled up into a ball and just kind of laid there. I don't know if it was for 30 minutes or so. I think it was 30 minutes, but when you're having a stroke, time is not relevant. But I decided to go tell my boyfriend about 30 minutes later, that my head was hurting, and this migraine was very severe. So I went up to my boyfriend, and I went to talk to him, and I opened my mouth, and no words came out. It was completely syllables, rather. And he looked at me, and he actually got mad at me, and he thought that I was joking with him, and he said, "Stop, you're scaring me." And I didn't realize what I was sounding like. I thought maybe I was just sounding like that to me. So I grabbed a napkin and a pen, and I said, okay, communication's not happening, so I need to make communication happen. So I grabbed a pen and a piece of paper, and I tried to write hard. It's hard for me to talk. But what I wrote was capital H, capital R, capital R. And, when you're actually having a stroke, you're so confused. Your time of perception, or your perception of time, your perception of whether it's night or day. You can't text on your phone. I call it the fog, because you're so confused, but you know what's going on. It's the most frustrating feeling ever. And I actually had my stroke at 10:30 at night on July 2011, and I was admitted to the hospital at 5:30 a.m. the next day, and I should have died. I remember calling my mom in the morning. My boyfriend was so worried about me. We hadn't gone to the hospital yet, because I kept telling him, no, it's just a migraine. It's gonna go away. I'm gonna sleep this off. I'm gonna sleep it off. It's gonna go away. And it didn't go away. And we called my mom, and my mom heard 2 words out of my mouth. And like I said, my mom's a nurse, so she knew exactly what was going on immediately. and she said, go to the hospital immediately. And I remember I heard an urgency in her voice that normally isn't there. And from that point on, I actually blacked out. I don't remember going to the hospital. I remember getting out of the car. I remember stumbling up to the hospital doors. I remember my boyfriend saying, I'm gonna park the car, just get in there. And I remember stumbling up to the doors, and they're sliding glass doors, and I'm stumbling in, and I'm so dizzy. And I finally get to the front desk, whatever feels like finally, and I get to the front desk, and the lady looks at me like I'm a crazy person, and she goes, what's your name? And I couldn't even tell her my name, and I go, bleh. And I've been in the hospital enough times to where I know they don't rush you into the back right away. You usually wait for 6 hours, and then 10 people go in front of you, and then you get to go. But no, I was the person that was rushed in front of everyone. So that was kind of surreal. I realized the urgency in the situation when they put me back in the room, without even knowing my name. They immediately rushed me to CAT scan. And I thought that it was a little out of the ordinary for them to be, I thought they were just being very thorough. And they actually came back to me and my boyfriend in the emergency room, and they had given me some drugs at this point to kind of sedate me and to bring down my brain swelling. And I remember the doctor came in, and I was holding my boyfriend's hand, and the doctor puts a picture of my brain on a screen. And he says to me, and I'm expecting him to say, hey, Sam, you're having migraines, you're gonna go home. But he says to me, it looks like you've suffered 3 small strokes, Samantha. I'm going to admit you to the stroke floor. And to this day, saying those words gives me the chills. Admitting me to the stroke floor? I'm only 21. I'm invincible, right?